Hello everyone, this is Jerry Courvoisier with LightroomWorkshops.com. Today we're going to look at Lightroom 4 and the bookmaking process associated with creating Blurb books in Lightroom. Lightroom 4 integrates the process of managing, editing, designing, and constructing great-looking photographic books. The new book module lets you go from photos to printed books quickly and effortlessly. From the established artist to the enthusiastic beginner, Lightroom's book module has some photographers creating books for self-promotion, special themed editions, and travel photography journals. In this segment, let's learn how to set up a book project in Lightroom using the library and book modules together to integrate the creative process. Sharing your photography story or subject has never been easier. Okay, let's get on with our bookmaking project. It's really great to have this integrated module within Lightroom. But a supporting element is the library module. So let's organize our book into a folder and then make a collection. So currently, in the catalog, I've got 658 images specific to this catalog. Then I have folders that segregate some of the information associated with the files. And in this case here, I've got the Santa Fe Book Project. Now within the project folder, I've taken the time to work with creating information in the caption field. So if we look over here to metadata for just a second, if we go to the default information, we can see that there's a title and a caption field. User insertable data under the IPTC standard, which is the International Telecommunications Protocol, I think. But they also provide kind of a preset for the large caption field where I can put in information associated with each image, which will then be mined by the book module into a text box if needed. So in this case here, my project title is Santa Fe, New Mexico, the City Different, a distinctive Indian, Spanish, and Anglo-American legacy. Okay? Now, I can take the time within the library grid to move through some images, create a sequence. You'll notice I have kind of a sequence going already, but if I don't like the sequence and I, let's say, want to put some of this Adobe at the beginning of the information associated with Adobe, I can drag and drop within the folder as long as my sort is set to user order. Okay? Now, one of the advantages of working with Lightroom is that we can create what's called virtual copies. And virtual copies are previews associated with an image. So in this case here, if I right click on the mouse, I can create what's called a virtual copy. That virtual copy will present itself with a little dog ear right here. So if I wanted to, let's say, create a book that was 7 inches square versus a landscape image, I could go over here to the Develop module, and within the Develop module, I could do some cropping. R is the key to get you into the crop mode quickly. And I could go to the aspect ratio of 1:1. 1:1 then gives me a square format. So if I was making a series of images for a square book, I can create the crop within the Develop module, click it, let it be so, and then move back to the grid, G for grid, to get back to the library. And you can see the original image is here, or the original preview I should say, and then my new virtual copy preview is right here, cropped to the dimension for the book. So in my case, the majority of the images are horizontal. Okay? In fact, they're all horizontal. And so I'm going to take advantage of the in-camera crops and work with these images in the book format in, let's say, an 8x10 landscape book. So let me just eliminate this virtual copy here. I'm going to hit the delete key on the keyboard and remove the selected virtual copy. Now the image did not go away, just the virtual copy. Okay, now If I go over here to collections and create a new collection, first let me head back to the folder here for just a second and select all of these images, okay, that I'm going to put into the collection for the book. So I'm going to create a collection. And collections are references to the images within the catalog. And so I'm going to name this SF Book Collection. So I'm going to keep it placement as the top level. I'm not going to put it inside a selection set. I can make sets of variety of collections and projects and so forth, but let's leave it on the top level. And I'm going to include the selected photos, and in the process of including the selected photos, I'm going to create virtual copies, okay, for this specific collection. So any adjustments or croppings that I make associated with images will be, the instructions will be on the virtual copy, not on the original preview. So there's an advantage here. Let's say I wanted to experiment with creating a black and white image versus a color rendering. I have the color original preview. I have the rendered black and white virtual copy with instructions on how to do it. So let's hit create here. New collection is being processed. There's 70 images in this collection. So when I move to the collection, again, these images now have this little dog ear icon. Let me bring it up here so you can see it just a little bit better. See, I'm moving the thumbnail slider to bring up the thumbnail here, and you can see this little dog ear. That's a visual clue that it's a virtual copy. Okay? Now if we look to some of the images, again, I've created the caption fields or title fields. It's up to you. I prefer caption because then I can draw on the information that I've typed into the caption field for working with the book module. Okay, any other sorting, rearranging can be done easily within the grid within library. So if you need to create a sort, move images around, that type of thing, you can easily do that and create a sort order or a specific sort order here. Okay? Now, I've made some croppings, I've made some adjustments. I'm pretty happy with the sequence at this point. I've got a variety of different architectural details that I'm going to focus on in the book, and I'm going to now move to the book module. I have the collection activated, and I move to the book module by tapping on the book word at the top. You'll see the spinning icon for just a few seconds because it does take a bit of time to load a book in. And then when I arrive at the book module, what I want to do is I want to check out the book module prefs. Okay, so here's how I'm going to work with this book. Under book preferences, now again, I'm not working with Lightroom's preferences. I'm working with the book module preferences. I'm going over here and clicking. And in the layout options, I have default photo zoom. Okay, I'm going to zoom to fit, or excuse me, zoom to fill rather than zoom to fit. So if I have a square book and I zoom to fill, it'll fill the space of the picture box. Whereas if I say zoom to fit, what it will do is it will fit the image, a horizontal, into a square format, which I don't want to do. Okay, because then I'd have space at the top and bottom. The autofill option I have turned off. It's called Start New Books by Autofilling. By default, it's on. So you would see your book populate in the sequence that you're bringing over from Lightroom's library, or the collection in this case. And I have some text boxes with filler text. Okay, I could say caption metadata, okay, because I've done a lot of caption metadata. I want to see that information. And constrain the captions to a text-safe area. We certainly want to keep it in a text-safe area within the environment because we don't want anything clipped out or cut when we're sending the book off to be printed. Okay, so that's enough of the preferences. Now, The next thing we want to look at is book settings. Okay, book settings are over here. And let me bring this up for you so that you can see it a little bit better. The book settings, of course, look like this. We've got a choice of Blurb books, making PDFs, or JPEGs. In the case of making a Blurb book, we've got 5 sizes to choose from, as well as PDF and JPEG. So in this case here, I'm going to go with the standard landscape view. It's an 8 by 10, 20 by 25 centimeters, okay? There's also a large landscape, 13 by 11, and a large square that's 12 by 12. Small squares up here. We can do a portrait book, more like a journal. In this case here, more of a standard landscape coffee table type book. We can work with the cover. We can have an image wrap, that's hardcover. We can have a hardcover dust jacket, and there's a template for it. And then a soft cover. In this case, I'll create a soft color as a prototype for my first book. Then we've got 4 paper choices. And through Adobe's software, there are 4 premium luster, premium matte, Proline uncoated, and Proline pearl. My preference is normally to work with the premium luster initially for my prototypes and then move to the Proline pearl photo paper. It's a little thicker when I create the final book. And then there's a logo placement. If you don't want Blurb's logo, you can place it as none here. Okay, now the estimated price presents itself right here. And here it's in US dollars, but there's 5 other currencies available, and you can see the cost of the book as it progresses. Now as you add pages, the estimated price increases. Now there's also this feature called Learn More here, so if you click here, this takes you directly to Blurb's website. Okay, and there's some information associated with how to create books as well. A lot of good information on Blurb's website as well as Adobe's website. Okay, let me exit this. And understand that you're not committed to Blurb. You can make a PDF or a JPEG. So if you move to the PDF feature over here, and you look at the layout here, you still have the 5 book sizes, and the covers the same, but then you're dealing with JPEG image quality, okay, and 60 for a PDF is more than efficient. The color space you're working in is sRGB, and the file resolution is 300 pixels per inch. Okay, now if you're looking at creating JPEGs, again, same situation, but the quality default is 100 versus 60 for a PDF document. So let's toggle back down and we'll look at the book here. Now, let's look at the navigation icons. So currently I have the back cover and front cover and the first page being presented. Okay? If I look down to here, we have the multi-page view. So it's Command or Control E. If we have the spread view, which is this icon here, the 2-page spread view, I can go to Command or Control R. That gives me my 2-page spread in the central viewing area. If I want a single page view, click on the icon down here in the toolbar, or use the Command T, and that would bring you to the single page spread. Okay. Now there is another feature over here on the right hand panel called Auto Layout. Okay, and Auto Layout allows you to auto populate the book with selected presets. Okay, so if we look over here for just a second, you can see the Auto Layout preset window here, and if I pull this down, I've created one preset called Left Page Text Box and then Right Page Photo. Let's go take a look at the Auto Layout preset here. Let's toggle back down, and you can see You can select a variety of different templates associated with text pages in this case on the left-hand page. And on the right-hand page, I'm looking at a single photo taking up the whole space on the right-hand side. So I'm asking it to add the photo captions. In this case here, I don't really need to align them with the photo because I'm picking a text page. Okay, and so when I create the preset for the auto layout preset, all I need to do is say save current settings as a new preset, then you'll title that preset. So in my case, I've created a left page text box and a right page photo. Okay, and I'm just going to update this by saying, just say update right here, because I did make one small change about aligning the photo. So I'll go ahead and update that preset and say done. Now, when it's finished, what I can do is, let's just watch what happens here. I can hit the auto layout feature, and it prepares and places all the images within the book. Okay? So again, I asked for a text box on the left side, and I asked for an image area on the right side. Okay? Okay, so maybe not what I had in mind, but you can get the general idea on how to create a preset and auto-populate the pages within the book. So I'm going to go up here at the very top here where it says clear the book. Okay, and I'm going to tap here, and what that does is that creates a fresh new canvas. Okay, now we have the front cover, the back cover, and so in this case here, what I want to do is I want to place this image right here as my cover image and this image as my back cover image. Okay, now in working with this format here, I can then start to look and predefine the template. So the front cover, back cover, if you look right here, there is a small little black arrow, and you can come down here and look at all of these templates. Now, within Lightroom, there's 180 Pro Design templates. And when you create a template, it's just a matter of picking and choosing a template within Lightroom here. So in this case here, notice that the gray areas represent the images and the text box here. So in this case here, I'm modifying the cover, and I'm going to click on this image here, and I'm going to then move my images into place within the picture box. Now the text box associated with this information is right here. Okay, now let's move to the single page view. It's Command or Control T. Now, single page, because it's a double page spread for a cover, the text box is highlighted here. Now, this would be a good time to save the book, okay? By creating saved book, you can label the book SF Book Project, okay? And in this, I'm just not going to only include the selected photos that I'm currently using. I'm going to include all the 70 photos in the collection. So let's hit create. Now you'll note that we have a book icon over here now. The book icon is pretty cool. Okay, it differentiates itself from a collection. It's a book icon. All right. Now, getting back to the text box, I want to put the title of the book, and I know that the caption information with this image contains the title because I knew that I was going to use this as the front cover. I'm going to highlight the image, and I'm going to return to the library, and you can see my caption information over here: Santa Fe, New Mexico, city different, a distinctive Indian, Spanish, and Anglo-American legacy. Let's just say I should probably put in New Mexico. Okay, so I'm just going to copy this, edit, copy, and I'm going to come back to my book module, go to the text field, and I'm going to do a paste. Okay? So let's take a look at the type. The type associated with the image is very powerful in the bookmaking process. We go down here to the type panel. we can click on the type panel and we can highlight the text and we can pick any font family that's on our computer. Okay? Now, in working with the font family here, I've decided that I wanted to use copper plate as a type style associated with the type family copper plate. Okay, so I'm going to go down here and identify it just like that. Now, what I can do is I can also create a preset associated with the type for titles and a type for copy within the book. Presets are great, so I could customize the information. So I've come over here and I've customized the copper plate Santa Fe book. So basically what I'm doing is I'm saying, okay, give me the copper plate information. Oops, sorry. I need to change this to black so we can see it. And I take all the attributes of the type and I save them as a preset called copper plate Santa Fe book. So I'm just going to update it here because I changed it to the black. Okay, so now here's where I can start to modify the type as far as its size and its relationship within the book. Okay, so if I wanted it to be 30 points, I can easily move in and park my cursor here and type in 30 points, bit large for the space I'm associated with. So I can then move the slider down to bring it into the correct type size for the book. Okay, so I think I can move it up just a little bit more. And so I'm at about 26. Let's make it an even 27. Oops, 26 would work better. Ooh, got away from me there. So I'm going to highlight the type, run in 26, like this. Okay, now I have all these attributes of type that I can modify. We have the opacity of the type. We have the tracking. Notice the tracking is the space between the letters. Okay, double click the word to default it back to 0. The baseline of how you want the space within the text box. Another way to do that is to go down here and place it in the very bottom here, where there is a small little icon at the very bottom here. You can see it's the placement of the text by moving it right there. I'll take you back, and you can see by just clicking on these I can place it within the box, either centered or bottom or top. Okay, so in this case I'll put it in the center, and I can justify it. Okay, down here in justification, I can look down here and I have justification attributes. Okay, so what I can do is I can click over here and I can place the type with a right justification in this case. So I'm liking this. Maybe I can move the typeface up just a little bit more, okay, without getting it too far out of the way. Okay, and then I can work with that. I like that. Now, again, as we head to the body of the text, okay, within the book, we can create presets associated with typefaces, type styles, type attributes. We can even change the color of the text quite easily. If you click here, you could change it from white to another color associated with maybe yellow or green or anything else you wanted to pick. In this case, I'm just going to stick with the feature here for the black type. Okay, now how do we add pages to the book? Let's move over here and we'll start to insert pages. So over here under the page heading, okay, we can go add a page. But how do we add the page associated with the different page styles? So I need to click over here into this icon, and I can then pick an attribute from here, 1 photo, 2 photo, text, and so forth. And so in working with planning for the book, leave a blank page for acknowledgments and those types of things, and maybe an introductory space and so forth. So I might add a couple of text pages initially into my book, and then I can keep adding pages just like this. And these are all type pages at this point. But as I look at the layout of the book, I can say, okay, well, I'm going to leave this one blank. I'm going to put type in this one, maybe introductory type. Okay, where might I get the introductory type? If you've created a Word document, you can go to that Word document and then pull the information from that Word document. So in this case here, I'm going to put a blank page, I'm going to put acknowledgments here, and then I'm going to put the introductory information right here. And so I'm going to go over here, let's minimize this for a second, folks, and I can go to my Word document, and I can say introduction, and I can bring in this type associated with the introduction from my Word document. Okay, so I'll take it right like this, and I'll copy it, and then I'll move to this page, go to the single page view, and you can see that if I click in the space, select it all, and then change the type attribute. Okay, so this is a type attribute that I want to control. Doesn't quite need to be 26 like the title was for the book. It could be 12 or 14, and the information will fit nicely here, and I'll change the attributes of where it's going to sit within the book. Okay, so if it's a bit too small, you can think about, well, I can increase or decrease the typeface depending on how I want to present the information. So in this case, on the introduction side, I've got this introduction associated with the book and the Santa Fe style, and kind of the idea is how it was preserved within the information associated with what I'm trying to convey within the book. Let's move to the layout now, and you can see the intros here. I might place my acknowledgments here. Santa Fe Preservation Society, thank you, and so forth, associated with people who have helped you with the process of creating the book. And then I'll move over here, and I'm going to start to insert text and images associated with the book. So in this case here, it's really easy. I've got two images right here associated with a Adobe style building, and it's just a matter of dragging and dropping it into the layout. Okay, now how come it didn't move? Because it's not a photo layout, it's a text layout. So I'm going to click on the black button here. I'm going to move to the single page spread, and I'm going to decide, do I want one photo per page, and what kind of template do I want to use for that photo? Okay. In this case here, I'm going to have one fill across the page just like that. And when I drag and drop this just like that, it presents itself within the book. I'll go back to the multi-view, and I'll bring up this other one, which is a snow view of the same image. Now again, I need to pick the layout associated with the single photo on the page. In this case, it was this one, and I can look and drag this one right here. So an interesting page view, it's a double page, and it's the same image twice, but it's in two different seasons. Okay, so we have the summer, and then we have the Santa Fe winter juxtaposed on the pages here. Okay, and looking at the layout now, what I can do is I can move to the double page spread, and I can swap out the images. So if I wanted to put the one on the right to the left, I just drag it and drop it over here, and notice that they flipped and flopped to move into the book. So again, I like this image on this side. Okay, now what I've realized is that I can also put, instead of putting these images across each other on the page, I could select a different template. In this case, I could select two photos on a page, and I could put the photos based on, something like this, and then drag and drop the images together on the page just like that. Now it doesn't fill up the space as much as I would like, so I might select a different arrangement, and I have plenty to choose from within the templates right here. Okay, now I'll stick with this one for the moment, and I'm going to move over here, and I'm going to collect this image right here, which kind of shows the vigas, and I want to then say one photo, and I want to include some text associated with this image. Okay, so I'm going to take this one, and I'm going to use this template right here, And so this is where the vigas will appear, the terminology for the logs in the image. And notice if I drag and drop that suddenly my text appears associated with the companion information in the text field. So how did that happen? Well, let's go back to the book preferences again. And I asked it to fill the text boxes with the caption metadata and constrain the captions to a safe area. So it describes the vigas, round logs used as ceiling beams, either shaved or raw. Okay, so what I can do is I can then again modify this text associated with its placement within the image. I might in this case put it over in here and left justify it, and then place it down within the area like this. So there's a bit of a reference associated with what you're seeing in the information next to the image. Okay, and moving to the next image, okay, in my sequence here, you'll notice the little numbers associated with the images. These are how many times the image has been placed in the book. So if it's used twice, you'll see a number 2. So let's move back and let's move to the multi-page spread again. And I'm going to click to the next page and I'm going to start to look and see how I'm going to place this image in the book. Now, a facing page on the left, I might want to include the information associated with what I'm viewing or what the viewer will be viewing. In this case here for this theme book. Now this isn't just a photography book, it's more of an education book. And so in this case I'm going to select a similar layout but with the photo facing the other side. So the bookmaking process allows you to experiment with a variety of different layouts. And so in this case here, this is a very similar layout, but I might experiment with using a different type of layout, maybe in this case using this layout, which has a larger image area. And when I import this image into the layout by dragging and dropping, the text presents itself here. So let's go to the page layout here, and you can see that I've got a little bit of a problem because the text is a bit too large for the image area. So to modify that, I can select it all. Okay, and I know it's overflowing the text box, so it's very hard to see, but there's a small little plus sign down there that tells me that I have more text than the box will handle right now. So in this case here, I would experiment with maybe bringing down the type size, okay, maybe down to somewhere around 12 points or 14 points for easy reading. But again, in this case here, we're talking about a defined definition for a portal. And it's a patio attached to a home covered with fixed roof supported by posts. Okay, so in this case here, again, I might move the text attributes down so that I can place them here. Now this is an all-consuming process because what you're going to do is experiment with a variety of different layouts associated with the images. In this case here, the background of this particular page might be better served with black. So what I could do is I could go over here and go to background. Now I don't want to apply black globally across all of my pages. I'm going to only apply it to this page specifically. Not going to use a graphic. You can drag and drop a graphic here if you wanted to use something like that. But I can go in here and I can select black and I can look over here. And again, my text box now needs to be changed. So I'll select all. So edit, select all. And I would need to put white type in this area here by selecting and identifying the type for white for this particular page. Okay, so all the different attributes associated with compositing and laying out your information associated with the book is really quite dynamic. But certainly you want to create a consistent look and feel to the book. I'm just showing you a variety of different options here. Okay, let's take a look at another option associated with a page layout. Again, we've got tons of different templates, 180 of them. And so what I can do is I can actually come over here and I can maybe make a full page one. All right, and I'm going to place this image right up here, and then I'm going to move to the single spread view, and I want to describe the information associated with this image as well. So if I go to a page, or excuse me, not page, if I go to the caption information, I can create the photo caption from my caption information. And it talks about coping, the decorative detail along the top edge of the buildings. And so in this case here, I've created a full page image, and I've placed the text over the image. And so in this case here, again, I'll need to head back to the type alignment and pick a color, in this case white, and maybe talk about creating a centered piece in this case, or left or right justified. In this case here, I'd go right justified because it's a facing page on the right, and I could identify the information by hitting a return on the keyboard like this. The attribute looks a little bit too spread for me, and so what I could do is I could work with the tracking a little bit and the baseline associated with how it's going to work within the frame, and maybe the leading associated with something like this. So all these type attributes are great and easy to work with. Hit the auto leading, it does it automatically based on the typeface size and so forth, and the type character attributes. Now, let's move on. Of course, a book is a process, okay? And so in that process, you're going to experiment with a variety of different ways to present the information. In a photo book, it would certainly be easy to just create an auto layout where you can make the left blank and right one photo. No competing images on the left or on the left page, and all your images on the right. It's a nice portfolio type of presentation. If you put photo after photo after photo, it doesn't present the image as a single image. It presents competing images within the layout. But in an educational book or a theme book, we can talk about creating a title, placing the information on a page, and then outlining the book as far as introduction, acknowledgments, and so forth. So, in looking to create more information associated with the images, let's say I skip over to this image here and I want to create a double or a multiple photo page, whereas I'm placing lots of information about the Adobe in this case here. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to create a multiple page layout, let's say 4 photos to a page, and look over here. I've got a variety of different layouts to choose from. If I have textual information to identify information associated with the Adobe, I can do that. It's image space, single space images, just placing the information, then putting a page caption on this one that describes the Adobe. So let's say I work with the Adobe images here. So I'm going to scroll down here, and I want to emphasize the Adobe structures now. So I'm going to create an image here. I'm going to place an image in here. I'm going to place another one here. These all have Adobe bricks associated with the arrangement. And so now when I bring them up to the single page spread, you can see that we have an architectural detail. We have kind of a fancy border associated with the layout as well. If I click and drag on the image, I can move and reposition the image within the frame. Now here's an interesting thing to be aware of. If you zoom too far into an image, at some point you're going to see an exclamation point. So these are rather large images, but if you cropped heavily into an image, you're going to see an exclamation point. And that's a visual clue that's going to tell you immediately that that image is not at the correct resolution for the information in the reproduction side. So in this case here, I'm just zooming into these images at different percentages to show the architectural details associated with the Adobe. Now, in this case here, I can work with creating a caption. Now, instead of having a photo caption for each one of these, I can create a page caption. And the page caption can be at the top or at the bottom. And notice the offset here. If I push it up or down, I can place it within the frame. Now, I'm losing a bit of the information associated with where I'm going to place my caption. So there is this feature that's called padding. Okay? And so I'm going to look at the cell feature here, and I'm going to then move the padding. Oops, I'm in the wrong cell, I'm sorry. move the padding like this, move the padding like this to a specific percentage, 20 points in this case, and so forth. So allowing for the images to sit on the page, or else just select a different layout. Okay? Now, when I look to the caption information and I want to put a page caption in, I have to decide whether I want to put it on the top or the bottom. Okay? That's the choice here. So if I click on top and I look at the offset of the information, and then I can actually type physically into the area that I want to put the information. But if it's photo caption, then you click on a photo, you enable caption, and it says Adobe. Okay? And so I can either put it again over, below, or above the image. Okay? So it doesn't work for this layout. So I'm more inclined in this case to do a page caption than a photo caption. So let's go with the offset here. And I think I might need a different layout, maybe something like this. Okay? And the photo caption at the bottom, and then I can just enter the type physically. Or, in this case here, I could say, okay, well, I know I have some caption information, so let's head back to the library, and it'll identify that image within my library. And I go to the metadata, and it says Adobe mud brick that's dried in the sun. I'll copy the information here, return to the book, return to the photo caption information on this page, or excuse me, the page information, and I can zoom in to this information. I might have to work with the padding associated with this as well. So in this case here, I'm going to control the type size. So I'm going to bring up the mud brick into the same line, and I'm going to control the size again with the typeface. So again, in working with the typefaces and working with how you want them to appear and where you want to center them in the page and center them in the block of data, you can do it like this. Okay? So we have Adobe mud brick that's dried in the sun. Or we could just eliminate the Adobe and just say mud brick construction. Okay, Lightroom's saving your information as you go along. So there's no reason to go back and now save the book again. That's not in the cards right now. You have a book project going. It's updating its database as you move through the process. Okay, let's look at just a couple more layouts in the process of developing a book within Lightroom. So I'm going to move to this layout here, and what I've done is I've selected a layout that has a picture within a picture. And so in this case here, I might create the information associated with this image. It's very nice. And there is some text associated with this image in the caption field, okay? And that caption information presents itself here. So short sculpted beam lying at the top of a poster wall. Okay. Nice dynamic line to the picture, draws attention to the type, and the placement of the type can be moved up and down within the frame. Okay, making it within the type safe area. Okay, and I can bring in another image to illustrate similar information by moving through some of my images here. And I need to find one like this one here. So I'll bring this other image. So we have an image in an image now. No, that's not the one I want. It's this one here. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to illustrate this piece right there. So what I want to do is I want to bring that up again. And so again, we're combining information, a picture within a picture in this case here, to describe some information associated with your book. Now, wonderful layouts associated with creating cookbooks, photo books, educational books are all provided with Lightroom's book module. The last one I want to show you is I'm going to add a page. So we go up here to page, we say add a page, and I'm going to pick a 2-page spread layout. Okay, so in this case here, we look to 2-page spreads, and again we've got a variety of them. Okay, they can go all across the page with a border, without a border. And so in a very basic situation here, you could pick one of these layouts, and notice the gutter right across here. And so there isn't any matching up to be done. All you do is drag and drop the image within the page. And so in this case here, I'll go to the cottonwoods and I'll drag the cottonwood image up to the page like this, and it spreads it across the page. Now I can move it within the page, and if it doesn't work, if it's not an efficient 2-page spread to work with, what I can do is I can grab a different page spread. Maybe it works better that way. Maybe it works better if I do it this way, and then create another image, a complementary image, on the page as well, just like this. Then I can move that image right into there. Black background might help. Okay, move down here to background, background color, click on black, right there, and there's my 2-page spread. Beautiful gutter. Okay, now what I referred to earlier was in zooming in the image here. When you're crossing a 2-page spread and you move to crop it extensively, okay, notice again this exclamation point. This exclamation point is telling you that the resolution of this image is not enough, okay, because you're cropping too heavily into the image. So just be aware of that. If you ever see any of these little exclamation points around, you can always correct that by zooming to the correct level to eliminate the exclamation point, and then you're in the correct resolution for that image. Okay, so I'm going to just move this image within the area and zoom this one as well. Okay, perfect. Okay, now after completing the book, I've just done a little bit of work behind the scenes, changing the backgrounds, adding some type, and moving through a variety of different layouts associated with the availability of the 180 different layouts available in Lightroom. I'm kind of happy with what I've got going here, and I can then upload the book to Blurb. Okay, so in the process now, I have my Santa Fe book project. And what you can understand is that you can move to the library, and if you wanted to add other images to the book project, you could select them and drag them to the collection or the book project, and then they'll be available to the book to insert more images and so forth. So the book is in transition, okay, but when you've completed the book, and again, the book process takes a bit of time. You need to, understand the layout features, give it a bit of practice, and find yourself working with your images and sequencing your images so it all works together. Now, when you're ready to print the book, you hit Send to Blurb, this big button at the bottom right here, and that'll take you to Blurb, and you'll then put in your book title, the subtitle, the book author's name, and your price is listed in US dollars. So the minimum book is 20 pages, and the maximum book for Blurb is 240 pages. So you'll put in your details, you'll pay the money, and then you'll receive a book in 7 to 10 days. Up until, I think, around the 1st of December, you can still get 20% off on your first book out of Lightroom. And Blurb will give you that discount when you upload to Blurb. Now, the other side of the coin is that you can export the book to PDF. And so it's just a matter of hitting the button on the lower left-hand corner and creating a PDF document of your book at the size relationship that you requested over here. So what you'll do is you'll set up for PDF, and then you'll hit Export Book to PDF. And then if you wanted to go to JPEGs, It's export the book to PDF or export the book to JPEG. Now that we've finished the walkthrough of the features associated with the book module, I'd like to remind you of the Help menu at the very top. This is the place where you can always find your book module tips, shortcuts, and help. The book module shortcuts can be presented just like this and present themselves on the screen. So if you've missed any of the IU shortcuts or the guides and shortcuts and view shortcuts, just check them out here and become proficient at working with the book module. To dismiss this, just click on it. To retrieve it again, it's always up here in the Help menu. Now, the last thing I'd like to focus on before we close out this session is the fact that you do need to have a calibrated monitor. It's an important part of the process in working with Lightroom. Because it's such a visual process, you have to have the correct contrast, brightness, and color all the time. Because if you don't, you're making adjustments to your images that won't be reflected in the output. Okay, so it's really consistent that you come up with a color calibrated monitor that's done with an instrument. Okay, I can certainly make a recommendation for you that X-Rite is the product that I use. I like the software interface. It seems pretty straightforward and provides me with consistent results with my color calibration. Now, color calibration is required to keep the constant brightness, contrast, and color on your monitor, whether it's a laptop or a 22-inch screen monitor. It has to have this consistency to produce the correct output. So in making books, don't be disappointed if, for some reason, the density of the images are too light or too dark. It's because there could be problems associated with the calibration of your monitor. Now, I don't think calibration is an expensive investment, and so I think it's a required investment to constantly have that same brightness, contrast, and color on your monitor. Now imagine if you were to create an adjustment in the Develop module and you start to correct for what you're seeing on the screen as being an image that's too blue, and the fact is that your monitor is blue and you're dialing up the yellow, and the problem becomes more pronounced on the output side because you're not looking at a correct screen brightness, contrast, or color. Okay, so that's my final suggestion. I'm glad you were able to look at some of the features associated with the book module in Lightroom and give yourself an hour a day and just practice, and I think it'll come to you rather quickly. Books are a great way to share your photographs. All the best. Jerry Courvoisier, lightroomworkshops.com.